Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the PR Style Guide podcast. We are excited today. We are in 2024 and it's a new year. We're really excited about all that's happening. Thank you all for being a part of this community. It has been great to release the episodes, to hear the feedback. If you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're viewing this on YouTube. Also, find us on Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts. And we would love for you to rate and review the show as well. As you know, that here we love to talk about PR, we love to talk about fashion, we love to talk about all these things. And I am really excited about our guest today. Her name is Lindsay, and I'm actually going to have her to say her last name because I realized I say her first name all the time, and I do not want to do dishonor to her last name. She is such a beautiful person inside and out. Her and I had a chance to meet back in September of 2023 at a conference, and we stayed in touch. And now I'm so excited that she is a guest on the PR Style Guide podcast. So I'm going to get started sharing her phenomenal bio, and then we're going to jump into conversation with Lindsay today. So Lindsay is a multifaceted media professional passionate about creating engaging stories that inspire meaningful and impactful conversations in the digital landscape. As an inspiring author, she founded Power Room Magazine, you go girl, exploring mental health, productivity, and self-improvement, and has been featured in publications like YesGurl UK, Just Begin Magazine, and Politics for Her. She notably contributed to an article called Reclaiming Go Back to Your Country. And also, she has expertise in public relations and media and advertising, coupled with a background in the arts and nonprofit sector, which empowers her to create compelling narratives that deeply resonate with diverse audiences, drawing inspiration directly from her personal experiences and reflections. Beyond her work, Lindsay enjoys fashion, content creation, and immersing in thought-provoking podcasts. Welcome to the PR Style Guide podcast and community, Lindsay.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You are welcome. Now, last name, please. I want to make sure. Say your last name for me.
So technically, if I'm saying it with my Haitian accent, it's Francois. But in English, you can just say Francois, which is fine with me. Yeah, I'm not too picky about it.
I'm really glad I did not try to say that because that is not what I would have said. So
It's okay. How would you have said it? I just want to hear it from your perspective.
I would have said Francois.
I've gotten that a lot.
So,
It's
like I
okay.
said, I'm glad I did not try to even. Thank you, Lindsay.
No worries.
So let's start with your background. So you say you are Haitian. So tell us a little bit. Were you born in the US? Did you move here? Where are you at now? Just give us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so this is actually my first time ever sharing the story, but I did grow up in Haiti. I moved here in Miami from Haiti about 14 years ago, actually, after the earthquake in 2010, I want to say 2012. Um, and once I moved here, it's obviously, I spoke a little bit of English from traveling a little bit here, but it wasn't until I had to completely immerse myself into the new country that that I had to switch. And I originally spoke French and Creole. Now, if you ask me something in French, it'll take me some time, but I can definitely speak it a little bit. So yeah, that's me growing up. I grew up in Haiti and then moved here to Miami. I went to school I went to school at Florida International University where I studied public relations and advertising. The program kind of encompassed everything communication. So you can kind of pick your classes and pick and choose where you want to be. And once you graduate, you go into that field. So my minor was in hospitality, even though I do not use it currently. Um, while in college, I self-started a lot of projects. I reached out to as many people as possible because my one fear was graduating college and not being able to enter the field.
Mm,
So I decided as soon as I I switched my major from international relations to public relations to go all in and remember to self start as much as possible, and have an entrepreneurial mindset about it. So I volunteered as a public relations coordinator. I interned at the Adrian Art Center for Performing Arts, and then I freelanced for like about 1.5 years before I finally landed where I am here, which is a media manager at the Children's Trust.
Wow. Okay, so I want to unpack that a little bit. So you moved here essentially a little 10 years ago or so. You
Yeah,
spoke French. You said you spoke a little bit of English, but
yeah.
you speak English very well. Like, how was that? I'm not going to even, I was going to say, is that like Rosa Stone? But I don't know. Like, I'm,
No, no. So it's I think it's already kind of a mindset thing, honestly. So I remember when I first moved here, I used to pray and be like, God, I know I can think in English, I mean, in Creole, and I can think in French, but I can't wait to be like able to think in English as well, because that's when you know you learned something, right?
yeah.
You really know in language. So I remember like thinking like, damn, I can't wait to be able to do it. And I would really focus on that. And I would even try to think in English as opposed to like thinking in French. And I also watch a lot of movies. So movies definitely helped me kind of pick up on the mannerisms and the slang, the style that everybody had and everything. I used to watch American movies and TV shows, but all in French. So now I had
Mhm.
to relearn all of that, but in English. And it just it clicked after I think maybe 3 or 6 months, and also was super young, so it's very easy to learn a new language as a young person like that. Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about your magazine. So Power Room Magazine, how'd you come up with the name? I love the name, by the way. So you
Thank
talked
you.
about mental health, productivity, self-improvement. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
you said you were a self-starter. So
So back in 2020, obviously, well, before we even get there, back in 2020, I was interning at the Adrian R Center for the Performing Arts. And I was so excited because I had done some other volunteer work, self starting again, doing some volunteer work. And because they saw that, they were like, oh my God, we definitely want you to like be part of the team. So I was interning there, and then COVID happened. And they called me one day on a Tuesday, can't forget it, and they said, "We're so sorry, but we're going to have to cancel the program for the rest of the semester." I
mm,
literally cried because I was so excited about learning as much as possible, especially like being a young professional in college, still trying to get my footing and really understanding my career. I was devastated. But I wanted to still continue learning as much as possible and not take COVID as just like a break for me to like step away from PR and and get behind. I didn't want to get
mhm,
behind. So
right.
I got a notebook. It was pink. I got a notebook and I just started writing articles. I was like, let me just look up a prompt every day during COVID and start writing whatever I can just so I can continue learning. And I did that. And then I was speaking to my friend who told me that she had hired a life coach. And I was like, I thought that was for like, really rich people or something,
Mhm,
like
right.
which I think is expensive. And she was
Yeah.
like, no, it's not. Like, if you want, I'll connect you. She connected me with her. I started speaking to her and I told her about the notebook I was writing on and everything. And she was like, well, it sounds like you already have a blog. Why don't you just start one, especially since
Mm,
you have plenty of time? And I was like,
right.
no. And she basically gave me all the tools that I needed in terms of confidence and building systems for myself in order to start actually putting together a blog. And what it was supposed to be very small. Like I told her I didn't want to share it with anyone. She's like, well, if you're not going to share it, you might as well do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, even if no one reads it, that's exactly what you wanted to begin with. So you might as well go out there and put it out. So I started building the website. I started writing more articles. And then little by little, I got really into it. And again, what was supposed to be super small and no one was supposed to see, I ended up doing a launch. I ended up, sorry, figuring out how to do interviews and emailing as many people as possible and connecting with as many people as possible. And Power Room came about. And the name itself was it was really about empowering myself. When going
Mhm,
into that space, it was for me to figure out like what are some things that I can do to no longer procrastinate, because that was a problem for me. My goals were to lose weight. So then I was like, okay, like how do I find fun ways to lose weight? Maybe other people would be interested in knowing that. So then I went out there and find out and figured out how to um how to lose weight in a fun way, and then I shared it with everybody else.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I would say that I kind of backtracked, because being vulnerable, even if it wasn't directly me speaking
Mm-hmm.
about my life, being vulnerable kind of held me back a little. And that's how I slowly but surely like stopped like putting things out, because I got
Mm.
scared. If I'm being honest, I got scared. And yeah, but now 2024 is a whole new time. So we're no longer doing that.
Doing what?
Getting scared, not
Okay.
being scared, vulnerable, and sharing our creativity and our art. That's my goal for 2024.
I love that. And we're going to get into that more later. And Lindsay, how old are you?
I'm 25.
25. Okay, awesome. So I know we talked about you being a tween, and so it's like people may be wondering, like, how old is she? So
Yeah.
you are our second Gen Z
Yep.
guest that we've had. So we're super excited to dive in. And I know you, again, we met, you've become like a little sister to me. So I just kind of like jumped right in with you. It didn't even start with our first kickoff question. So I'm going to kind of go back a little bit. So,
Okay.
Lindsay, please tell us, when did you first fall in love with PR?
I've always been interested in the media field as a whole. From a really young age, I was always fascinated by everything media, from movies to advertising to newspapers. I wanted to know how it worked, but growing up in a Caribbean household, it's not necessarily something you
Mm,
can get up and say I want to do. It wasn't until college. I mentioned earlier that I used to major in international relations. I did a deep dive into international relations and what it actually takes to be a diplomat. And I'm like, okay, let me explore other parts of me that I that I
right.
like and that I'm passionate about. And behold, I decided to jump in regardless of my Caribbean background and what my parents would say or anything. And surprisingly enough, once I step into that space confidently, they've been so supportive ever since, and they've had my back. So I essentially had nothing to be worried about. Um, and that's I think I was always in love with it. In college is where I really defined where what my space would be within the media world.
Got it.
Mhm.
Okay. And what is that space within the media world?
Currently, I'm a publicist doing public relations, but I also manage social media. I'm also a web and graphic designer, and that's why it's kind of hard to define exactly what I do, because 9 to 5, yes, I'm a media manager, but outside of it, I also consult with small businesses on branding and how to advertise to people. And I also do social media, like social media management, and I also do graphic design. There's a couple of different things that I work on, and I also write. There's a couple of different things that I do. So I think
Yeah.
if I had to define it, I would say creative director. That
Hmm.
would be the best way to define everything that I work on, all the projects that I have. However, 9 to 5, I am a media manager.
Got it. Well, your bio did say multifaceted. So that is right in line with everything you just described.
Exactly. Yes.
So, would you say that those are so growing up in a Caribbean household, again, you said you always loved media. I guess when
Yeah.
did you start to explore like the graphic design and the social media? Because those are, while they all can come together, they also are different lanes.
So while I was also in college and volunteering as a public relations coordinator, I was also working at Office Max. And I'm definitely one of those people that no matter where I am going to make sure that I am fully immersed, and I'm going to
Mhm.
give it my all. And I used to work in the print and copy session, which means I would see a lot of small business owners come in, and they're
Mhm.
getting their flyers printed or getting their posters done. And I remember seeing a lot of business owners with just not the best graphic design. They didn't. Yes, you can use Canva, but having an eye for it is definitely a plus.
Yeah.
And I noticed a lot of business owners didn't have that. So I remember specifically also during COVID. Um, a gentleman came in and he had some flyers he wanted to print out. And I wanted to mind my business so much, but I'm like, listen, I will literally charge you nothing to redo this flyer for you.
Wow.
And he was like, sure. And I was like, okay, cool. And I did it. And he still ended up sending me like 15 bucks, which obviously like that's nothing. But the point is I was just like, I can't let you put this flyer out like this. I need to
Wow.
just help you. And I did that a couple of times with different business owners until I realized that I could actually make this a side hustle or
Yeah.
freelance in my space. So I went fully into freelancing as a designer in 2021, 2022, and then all the way up to 2024. Um, so that's
So
how it
wait,
began for me
did
helping.
you,
Mhm,
when you offered to redo his flyer, you
mhm.
already had some skills at that point? You just knew he needed help and you're like, I will figure this out because we
Yeah,
can't do this.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It wasn't like I had a lot of experience, but I pride myself in having an eye for what works.
Hmm.
Like I said, growing up, I was always observant of how the media space actually works. Like I would watch a commercial and I'm like, oh, that's why they added this here. That's why they did
Mm,
that. So for me, looking at flyers, looking at billboards, I'm like, yeah, I don't think this flyer is gonna work just based off of my observations in the past. So I was like, okay, let me just take a stab at it. And that's also why I didn't think about charging. I didn't want to charge. I
right.
just wanted to help. And I did that
Wow.
and then I was like, wait a minute, this could be a thing. But it took me time to figure that out. I had to do a lot of free work before that.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. Okay. Again, we're going to come back to some of these things, but you mentioned having an eye for things, and I know that you are a fashionista. You are a fashion girl all the way, which I love. So, our next question, what is one fashion staple for you being a woman in this industry?
A suit, whether that being a blazer dress or a full suit or something, but something that just looks super well tailored, like Forbes style magazine, a suit. I love them. I am honestly going to start an entire collection of them at this point because there's nothing like entering a room in a suit with a nice pair of heels. It goes a long way. So I love it. And plus it's very boss lady like. So it's my favorite thing to wear if I'm going somewhere and I need to be a professional but also still remain my fashionista self. And I also
Absolutely.
want to take a second to thank you because I was conflicted. We talked about this actually. I
Yes.
was a little bit conflicted about being a fashion girly, but also being a PR coordinator or media manager. And I thank you so much for speaking life into me with that because as soon as you said it, I was just like, okay, like let's do this. And I've been really stepping into that. But what you said
Good.
is helped me get there, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Absolutely. Yes. I, like you said, you have an eye for things. I know that you're a fashion girl. And I also believe that that's what attracts people, that can attract people to us. It can show,
Yeah.
just give them a glimpse of our confidence of who we are. And those are things that we don't want to dim. Those are things that
Mhm.
we want to shine bright. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that that you are walking in that.
Yeah.
It's a part of you anyway. So I feel like it would
Yeah.
even be hard for you to kind of like tone it
Oh,
down.
yeah, no. Now it's even worse, that's the problem, right? Like, not the problem, but that's the next step. It's like I was holding back a little before, now I'm like, "This is it, this is me."
Right.
Yeah.
So are there any specific colors of suits or is it kind of like seasonal? Like you'll do a white suit, you'll do a tan suit, like black, like it is whatever.
So I always say I also dress for my shape. So
Mhm.
I dress for my shape first and foremost. And then I grew up not liking the color pink out of rebellion, but I realized how great I look in pink and I am never going back. So
Nice.
definitely love a pink suit, love a tan suit. And my favorite color of all time, top tier, is black. So
Right.
I have a lot of black items in my closet, and I'm not ashamed of it. Black is
Okay.
the prettiest color. So,
Love that. Okay. So, jumping into our next question. So, I know that you are a Gen Z media professional. what would you say are, as a Gen Z media professional, what would you say are
Mhm.
some differences that you see in how you approach this industry?
Um, I think Gen Zers or Gen Zers in general are super, for lack of better term, unserious. And not it's not that I'm not serious. I'm just saying like we definitely have a lot more personality and fun into everything that we do. You know, we like to gamify our goals. I like to gamify my goals, specifically speaking for myself. So entering into a room, I definitely don't look like the older generation,
Mhm.
who's more serious, a little bit less outgoing in terms of what they're wearing, a little less friendly. Like, yes, friendly, but I am super bubbly and my voice is super high sometimes. So I
Yeah.
show up into a room and you can kind of tell like that's a Gen Zer. So I think that's definitely the biggest differences that I've noticed between the media professionals that I deal with on a consistent basis versus when I meet a reporter or another PR professional that is my age. Like it's a little bit more relaxed and less formal.
Got it. Okay. So I know that we have something in common. We both actually work for nonprofits. Your organization is a nonprofit, is it?
It's a government.
Oh,
Technically,
government.
it's
Okay.
a nonprofit. Yeah, we're tax funded specifically.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
So, have you worked with, and this is your first media relations job for this company? Is that right?
Yeah. So I started tech as a digital media specialist,
Okay.
which really was social media management and
Got it.
website development.
Mhm.
However, I got promoted and I became a media manager about, I want to say 6, 7 months ago officially. But
Got
it's
it.
not technically my first job in the field. It's just the
Okay.
first 9 to 5 in the field. I
Okay.
freelanced before. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Okay. My question was going to be, do you prefer doing PR for an individual client versus a company? But it sounds like you've worked with companies specifically.
Yes, I work with companies specifically, but if I had to choose, I don't think there is a choosing. I think if a person is choosing to be a personality of some sort, they are a brand and they're kind of a company. So
Mhm.
there are differences in how you approach them, but it's kind of the same thing, I feel.
Okay. All right. So, do you have a professional mentor? And if so, how or why did you choose them?
I do have a professional mentor. I When I first started at my current position, I was referenced by someone else, and that person already knew the person. It's a lot of persons. Well, we there's a couple of reasons, but I would say the main reason being that they went out there and did it on their own from day one. They don't have the same training and background as me, that formal background as me, but they went out there and got started, and that's something that I know like it's very important in our field. You have to be a self-starter. So
Right.
being able to look up to someone who has literally learned the trade from being in the field, it's even better because I believe public relations is definitely a practice game, and
Mm.
less of an academic game. So
Mm.
learning from her, it's been amazing because she's experienced. She's had many years of experience in the field, so she can kind of like guide me and tell me and let me know like do this or do that, or obviously it's always up to me at the end of the day, but her guidance
Yeah.
has been instrumental to my success thus far, because be- because she's patient, because she's always willing to help, and she's always there to answer any questions, and there are no judgments if I don't know something and I need help
Yeah.
with it. So I appreciate that a lot, and I definitely recommend anyone who is entering any field to get a mentor. It really helps you feel a little bit more certain and safe into going into your space.
Absolutely. Do you feel like, no, you're somebody, you approached her? Is that how
Yeah,
you all okay.
yeah, approached her. She's within our network as well, so it helps even more, because then she understands where I'm coming from and when I bring up a situation or something.
Right.
So it definitely helps. And I have other mentors as well that I work with. That help me a lot. Reporters that have been in the field but in transition to public relations. So now
Oh,
I get the
nice.
perspective from a reporter, how I should be pitching, or what not to say, or how to approach a reporter altogether. So I have kind of a very diverse pool of mentors that I pull from, but and they all have their own specialties, which helps a lot.
That's awesome. I love
Mhm.
that. So if somebody's listening who is looking for a mentor, or maybe I know, like you said, in this field, you kind of have to be a self starter, but sometimes people can still be what you mentioned a little earlier, just, not being afraid or, in talking with someone. I guess, what would your advice be for someone who may be seeking a mentor, but just, they may be looking for some assistance or help?
The one of the things that I learned a couple of years ago is that an email can go a long way. I can't tell you how many times I've emailed someone that I didn't know, that has never met me before, and they ended up helping me with something that I didn't even think, like, I didn't even think I was gonna get a no hello back. And here you
Hmm.
are, like, volunteering help to me. So don't be afraid to just email someone or call them
Right.
or send them a text. Don't be afraid to go out and network, and perhaps that person, it might not be the person that you are seeking, but it could be someone else that could be you in contact with them. So I think especially in this field, it is very important to network. Um, and it's not something that I feel like school talks about a lot. They focus a lot on the press releases, which are very important. But if you don't know who to send the press release to, it kind of becomes just paper.
Right.
So I would say, don't be afraid to email someone. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call. People are more willing to help than you think. And
Yeah,
even if you don't get an email back, it is totally a numbers game at the end of the day. So if it's not this person, maybe it could be the next person. So yeah, don't be afraid to send an email.
absolutely love that. So you
Mhm.
mentioned press releases. So, and you
Yeah,
can tell me because you work for government, but do you
yeah.
feel like in this day and age, are press releases still like the bread and butter, what they used to be? Is it more, just sending maybe a pitch through an email, not necessarily a press release, and it's through that relationship? I would love to
Yeah.
know your insight on that.
Well, I still think that press releases are necessary because you do want to give them as many details as possible and as being concise as possible with the information. But I think, like I said before, overall, the most important thing is definitely having that connection, that relationship, so that you
Hmm.
can even pitch to begin with.
Right.
Because it's just going to go into a void if you're emailing, for example, anyone from like Forbes that's just never heard of you, and you're sending
Right.
them something and they're like, "Oh, we've never even spoken before. What is this about?" Like they may or may not open your email, but having that connection will take you like a lot further than just having a really great writing skills but no network. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So I know you mentioned, you said you have some relationships with reporters who have now either entered into the PR field, or maybe they're still reporters. But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on, do you ever do like send an email and ask for maybe a 15-minute meet and greet? Like I've heard some reporters say that they do that to build a relationship before you need something.
Mhm.
Yeah, would love to know your thoughts or insights on that.
My personal experience is a little different because I kind of stumbled upon the reporters that I network with, and they
Got it.
get me connected to other reporters.
Mm-hmm.
So that is more happenstance than it was a strategy of mine.
Got
Um,
it.
the funny thing is a lot of things in life are kind of luck, and I think this was one of those things. But
Mm-hmm.
I obviously am still in communication with everyone. I still make sure to check up on everyone. Like I said, it goes a long way to just send a text during Christmas and say, "Hey, Merry Christmas." And
Right.
next time you have a pitch, they're like, "Oh yeah, Lindsay, you said Merry Christmas,"
Right.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, so for me, my personal experience is a little different, because I was already within the field to meet them, within their network, so it was easier to then have them be able to help out and reach out to other reporters on my behalf. And we
Gotcha.
also use an agency in my organization, so it's not just me pitching directly to a reporter. I also have a lot. There's also a team dedicated to helping me as well to reach out to different people that I might not have connections with.
I would say that's really helpful. Do you feel like having them is helpful?
Yeah, it is not something that I thought it was frowned upon at first, but I'm like, that
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because you're expanding your network. Just
right,
because you have a team in-house doesn't mean you can't get help outside of it. And I
right,
think that's a lesson not just for PR, but that's a lesson also in business. You know what I mean? Just if you can get that extra hand, then definitely, because you're only expanding your reach by doing it, and
right,
that helps the bottom line. Even though we don't have a bottom line, but it
right,
helps the bottom line in a sense. So definitely helps. And if there's an organization or a company who has a PR team, but feel like maybe it will be weird, like don't feel weird about it. Just have a conversation and expand your network for sure.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, Lindsay, how do you consume news?
I'm a big podcast girl, like I said in my bio.
Me too.
So yes, I in my drive in the morning, it's all podcasts after a good prayer, of course. Um,
Absolutely.
it's all podcasts, and then while I'm at work, I also have like just like I have it in the background, so I'm like here typing, and I just listen to the news on YouTube, for example. Um, I'm also on social media. I follow a lot of the big threes and the other the big publications. However, with social media, I try really hard not to just read the headlines and move on, or just the captions
Mhm.
and move on. So if I didn't read the entire article, I try not to discuss it until I have. So that's another way that I consume the news.
And for anybody who may not know or don't want to assume, what are the big threes?
Oh, my big threes. I My big three specifically, Washington Post, New York Times, and Bloomberg Business because I business.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Okay. So speaking of social media, again, I know you're a Gen Zer. You have a great social media presence. I love the content that you put out. So how would you say, how does social media play a role just in you as a professional, building a personal brand, any things
Mhm.
that, yeah, how does social media play into your sphere of things?
Yeah, I'm redefining what that looks like for me, honestly. So in the past, I thought I had to separate my professional life, like I mentioned before, from
Mhm.
fashion and lifestyle. I use lifestyle very loosely, um, but yeah, I thought I had to separate the two. And like I said, with that conversation that we had, you made me really realize that at the end of the day, they all really are part of me and I don't need to. So while I have two different pages, one for professional pay for my professional networking and behind the scenes at what I do, I also have my page for friends and everyone else who's interested in what I'm wearing or what kinds of fun activities we're doing with the girls this weekend.
Right.
But I realized that I don't have to get rid of either, and there are intersections. So lately, I've been just monitoring which ones that I know like this one is kind of lifestyle, but it also crosses over into what I do as a media manager. So then I'll have it on both. So it's
Nice.
a combination of that for me. So right now, I'm really defining it, like I said, and trying to find a balance between being a professional, but also just um, being a creative director, being a creative person in general who wants to explore all of these different sides of herself.
So I'm gonna ask, I feel like hopefully this is not too deep, but what makes you feel like they can't coincide?
I want to say honestly, it's growing up in that Caribbean household. You
Mm,
know,
got it. Okay,
we
that's fair.
really have. Yeah, it definitely influences how I how I see some things. I, there was always a separation in the past. You know, traditionally, if you're a professional, there are certain things like showing up very fashionable with like gloves or 5-inch heels. That's
Mhm.
like I don't know if anyone's like talking about it in a negative way about me. I hope not. If they are, they didn't say it to my face, so I'm good. But but yeah, there was a stigma I feel like in the past about being a professional in any field and showing up in in a very creative way when everybody else is kind of cut and dry.
Yeah. Mm.
So that's where that came from. And growing up, like I said, in a Caribbean household where they definitely do look at the professional fields like that, the professional
Mhm.
world like that, I I guess I was just like, well, I don't wanna be the one to move the needle. I don't want to be the one to step out of that box. You know what I mean? And it took me time, and I've had many conversations with my friends about it. It took me a lot of time. And I've journaled, and literally December, when you sent
Mhm.
me that, I was like, this is a sign. Yeah, this is a
Wow.
lesson for me. I no longer want to hide. And I'm just going to show up as myself. Whatever that looks like in both areas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, yes, it's so ironic. So the reason why we started the name PR Style Guide is, PR and style guide because we do typically use the APA style guide, when we're writing but also PR people, you are typically front facing or, we are stylish, like you're putting the look together, you have that pop of lip, color, or you're just coming, people notice, the PR professionals, or at least I feel like it's a field that a lot of stylish people are in. So
Yeah.
I feel like I never asked you that question, but it's so ironic. I feel like PR and style go together, like I said, because we
Yeah.
are helping people with their reputation. We are helping them to, like you said, get those graphics together. Like we want to help you look good, whether we're giving you talking points or whether we're helping you to show up with your website or your social media, so I feel like we embody that. So I feel like it would even be kind of weird for like us to be doing these great things out there and then maybe it's your style, not to like just kind of be low key, but I feel like we are bold people and
Yeah.
we have personality. So like yeah.
Definitely a bold field, like I said, a lot of it is like you going out there and doing it on your own. So I now fully echo that. At first it took me some time, but for sure.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy that you're walking in that. And I want to encourage anyone who's listening, if you are still trying to figure that out for yourself, but you love fashion, it doesn't even matter if it's fashion, just be who you are. Like we each have a light that shines. Maybe for one person, it is through, maybe you're a sneaker girl. Like you put together these fire looks with a suit and sneakers. Like I'm trying to get more in that vibe. I've been a heels girl my whole life.
I
Or
love
maybe yeah, maybe it's, whatever the case is, but I feel like we each have this light and it shouldn't be separated. And especially in this world of building a personal brand, I feel like we want to bring our full selves, our whole selves. Sometimes that's why clients want to work with us, because of that we bring. So I'm glad that you are walking into that. I'm walking into that. And I want to encourage every person, whether you're female, male, whoever's listening to us, like 2024 is a year where we are knowing who we are and we are walking in it, period.
Period. I echo that. And the other day I was at an event and I just posted the picture on Instagram. I was at the event and I first I changed my outfit. I'm not gonna lie to you. I changed my outfit because I was like, oh, maybe it's just too much. But I wore something else that was also too much. And the amount of people that came up to me was absolutely
Mm,
unbelievable. I was just like, and I didn't even have to do any of the work anymore. I didn't have to come up to people, and people won't believe this, but I'm actually a little bit shy. But I know. People never believe me. I'm dying inside, I promise you. But fake it till you make it. And with a great outfit,
right.
it's always as easier to fake it.
Always. Yes.
Exactly. So I would say if you're a shy person, or maybe more shy than I am, and you would like to talk to more people, just show up in like your best, in your Sunday best, wherever you're gonna go. Zendaya said the same thing. She talked about going on the red carpet and wanting to network with producers, and she found her way in being fashion because people wanted to take her pictures, or
Mm,
because her popularity as a fashion icon started,
mhm,
people wanted to work on with her on projects because they knew her popularity would get them that same viewership, and so
mm.
she went into that space doing that. So definitely, I would say if that's something you're already good at, and you have the eye for it, and even if that's not your thing, try it. get an outfit that you feel the most confident in, then walk into that space as confidently as possible, and people will flock to you and want to talk to you and want to know your name. It works every single
Hmm,
time, so I promise you,
absolutely.
try it.
Absolutely. Okay, Lindsay. Well, we are about to wrap up. I have two last questions for you. So tell us about, is there, as we talk about personal branding, as we talk about your fashion, as we talk about the things that you do, what are some projects that you're working on? Or
Yes, I'm very excited. Honestly, this year is definitely a year of creative freedom and creative expression. I am starting. Well, first, I am launching a portfolio website that I designed myself. I've designed a ton of websites, and this is the first one I've done specifically about myself. So there, if you'd like to check it out, it's www.officiallindsayf.com. There you'll find my portfolio as a graphic designer, as a writer, as a media manager. And bonus point, if you scroll all the way down, there's a little fun fact because I love fun facts. And if you do like it and you find it funny, go ahead and text me. But I won't say what it is. You'll have to find out for yourself. Um, but yeah, so that is launching, as well as a YouTube channel where I can explore a little bit more. With the same topics kind of that I went into in Power Room, but just putting that in video form and long form videos on YouTube. I can't wait to go ahead and share that with everyone. It's actually launching this week, and that has the same name as my own. Thank you, my own
Mhm.
Instagram, which is that's so Lindsay underscore. So if you're someone who wants to talk about mental health, who wants to talk about productivity, who wants to talk about fashion, but also health, physical health. Those are all the topics that I will be speaking on and so much more. So go ahead and subscribe. It's That's So Lindsay. And then besides that, there are other projects that I have coming up that I can't even speak about yet. But they're all social media related. They are also public relations and media related. I'm going to be producing a lot this year, which I'm very excited about, and I would love to come back and tell you about at another time. But for right now, it's all about reintroducing myself first with the website and also with everything that I have learned that has gotten me to the point now where I can fully say, like, I am ready to step into who I am as a creative.
I love that. First, I love the plug. Are you plugging yourself to be our first, second time guest? I hear you. Come on. Let me know back. But yeah, I just really want to celebrate you. And, you have just from all that you're doing, from how you show up, like if you're watching, you see her, if you're listening, just such a beautiful spirit, like I just love the confidence that is exuding. And I'm just so excited to see all that you continue to do. And yeah, so I just want to give you your flowers and celebrate you.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, keep
Giving
us
me
updated.
flowers.
Thank
I'm so happy you started this podcast. That's something that I've been looking for since I was in college. Is
Wow.
content based on PR. I went on YouTube every year looking for someone to talk about it, and there weren't a lot, and they weren't as fun. So I'm very excited, and I recommend anyone who is looking for the field, who is looking into the field and doesn't know to watch, because even I'm getting gems while I'm still like in the field. So
Wow.
kudos to you. I'm so excited. I'm so happy for this, and I can't wait to see how far it goes.
Thank you so much. So, one thing I want to mention, so are you open to people can work with you, like your portfolio? So, because not only want to have PR professionals listening, but hopefully some people who may be looking for people who can help them in the PR space. So, are you open for clients they can reach out to you?
Yes. So yes, I'm already working with a couple different people. So
Okay,
I definitely am still open though. I definitely am
gotcha.
still open with the right project. I am definitely down.
Got it. All right, Lindsay. So, as we wrap up, what is the best advice or best tip or advice that you've been given that you want to share with our audience?
This is actually from my mentor. She always says, plan your work and work your plan,
Mm,
which I think is super important, which is exactly what my first YouTube video is about. It's about putting that plan in action, but focusing on the habits. I didn't always have the structure that I have now to help me better step into the person that I am and the person I want to be. And I think we're having a vision and writing it down, especially writing it down as positively as possible, envisioning that plan and working towards it every single day is how you'll make anything you want to achieve happen. So I think that's the best advice I've ever gotten. And till this day, I am fine tuning what that plan is, and I am also not trying to put myself in a box and thinking, well, if the plan was to be a public relations coordinator, and now I am doing social media, am I far off? It's like, no, it's okay. It's okay to pivot, but having a plan is the first step to reaching your goals. And also, 1% is progress. You don't have to be perfect. You literally do not have to be perfect. You're not perfect. No one is perfect. So embody that and walk in your imperfection with confidence, and everything will just happen for you as it should.
period.
Period.
We'll put a bow on it. I love it. Well, you are wise beyond your years to be 25.
Thank
I
you.
love it. So, all right, Lindsay, let's get into this lightning round.
Ooh.
So, yes.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna ask you one or the other, and first thing that pops in your mind:
Okay.
coffee or tea,
Ooh, T.
Mac or PC.
PC actually. I lied. PC.
What? I would not
Yeah.
think you are a PC girl. Okay.
I. It's because I don't even want to say this too loudly,
No,
but
it's okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
PC. Sorry.
PC. We'll go with PC. Early bird, early bird or night owl?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do both. I barely sleep these days, honestly. I wake up late and I wake up early, sorry, but I also sleep very late.
Yeah,
So I can do both. I've always been able to do both as a child. It's the weirdest thing. I have no idea why.
it's one of your superpowers. We'll say that.
Yeah, exactly. One of my superpowers.
Spring or fall?
Fall. Yeah.
Love fall. Beach or mountains?
Ooh. See, I live in Miami and I used to live in
Mm,
Haiti. Not that I lived in mountains in Haiti, but um I don't have a great relationship with the sun. So I will say, in terms of I would do the mountains because I would want to hike, and I think
okay.
that's very relaxing to me. So I would want to hike, and I would say my mountains for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about suits earlier, and I already know the
Mhm.
answer, but black suit or
Mhm.
blue suit?
Black,
Right.
obviously. Yeah, you can't go wrong. But
Samantha
blue is my favorite
Jones.
color. Yeah.
Oh, what'd you say?
Sorry, I was saying blue is my favorite color though.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but black is yeah.
Black tops it all. I know.
Yeah.
Samantha Jones or Olivia Pope?
Olivia Pope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Washington Post or New York Times? I know you mentioned them earlier.
Both because they just have different perspectives at the end of the day, you know.
Mhm.
I definitely encourage as many different perspectives as possible, because then you have information bias and all this stuff. So yeah, definitely both, but for their own separate things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram for
Right.
sure.
I was
Sorry.
like, do you even have a Facebook account?
I do.
Okay.
And
Twitter, X, or TikTok?
TikTok.
Figured.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Extrovert or introvert?
Both depends on where I am. I can be an introvert when you first meet me, and then
Mhm.
after a little while, we get to know each other, and then I'm like all out and bubbly. It depends. It depends.
Yes, same. I think that's called an ambivert, so we can be ambiverts. All right.
Introverts.
Heel, yes. Heels, flats, or tennis shoes?
Heels all the way. Even if it hurts, you don't take it off. You wait till you get home or leave the party early, but don't take it off. You can't let them see you sweat, as they say.
Right.
So heels all the way for sure.
Yes. And I would say I think we're both shorter girls. So I know I love a good heel to give me a little boop. I'm 5'2". So yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely a catfish with the heels. If you see me on Instagram, you're like, oh my gosh, she's so tall. In person, I'm literally like 5'1". But that's
Yeah,
why I love heels. You'll just never know, you know?
exactly. Well, Lindsay, it has been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, wishing you all the best. And we're definitely going to have you back. Can't wait to hear more. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Can't wait to do this again.
Awesome. All right. And everybody, don't forget to, again, make sure that you subscribe, leave a review, and we will see you right back here next for our next episode of the PR Style Guide podcast.